Is it giving comedy or is it giving harassment? Because going back and looking at the history of Chris Rock and his comments on Jada, it's giving harassment mixed with a little bit of misogynoir. Let's talk about it.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on.
What's going on, you all? So for the last 2 days, I have been doing a lot of research and a lot of reading about Chris Rock and his history. And let me tell you something, I'm not really surprised. I've always known that there was a little raccoon living inside of Chris Rock. The way he tells jokes, the way he talks about things, the way he even speaks. He enjoys having white people in his audience and laughing at him talking about black folks. He feels as though he's doing a service or something, like holding black folks accountable or making white people feel comfortable. Like, that is his act, that's his stick. And going back and looking at his stuff, girl, it's not giving, to be honest. So the first thing came up was actually a post on Twitter where someone posted a Vanity Fair magazine cover from 1998 of Chris Rock. I think it was in August. And you see him in this, like, I don't even want to call it, but the imagery is very, very, very telling. Like, y'all know what it's giving. It's giving like blackface. It's giving blackface without the black paint. And this was done in 1998. Now, when I first saw it on Twitter, I honestly thought that this was, I said, oh, somebody must have photoshopped it. This is not real. I went and Googled, and somebody was selling it on eBay for like $80, like the physical copy of that magazine from 1998, like Chris Rock being on the cover. I've always told you all that there's a specific type of comedy that some black folks do that make white people feel very, very comfortable and want them to support. Like, it's a lot of black comedians, not just on Instagram and YouTube and Vine and those days, but have been performing specific type of blackness for white gaze, for white consumption. And Chris Rock is one of those folks. And a lot of folks not surprised. People have been calling out Chris Rock and his stuff for a minute. There's been a video circulating around where Chris Rock was sitting next to some white comedians. He was the only black comedian, the only black person in the conversation. And you had these two white comedians repeatedly use the N-word with a hard R at the end, like repeatedly. And Chris Rock didn't have any issue with it. Like, I felt like empowered and that they were laughing and felt comfortable saying it, like allowing him, like he was allowing them to feel comfortable to use the N-word in his presence. It's almost like he was getting a hard-on for it. And you had Jerry Seinfeld, who was sitting, and you can tell he was like uncomfortable, and he made a joke. He was like, you know, I don't seek it and I don't want it. Like, I just, you know, I don't think we should be doing this. Like, y'all are not like uncomfortable. And it went over their heads because in this point, Chris Rock is like so turned on by these two white male peers who are comedians in the industry that he is in, the industry that he probably wants to, you know, remain. Like, he wants to be a white comedian, to be honest. Like, he is very comfortable like doing this. Like, this is his stuff, to allow a non-black, let alone like a non-black, but a white man, two white men, to sit in a room, and you are a dark-skinned black man, sit in this room and allow these white men to say the N-word repeatedly. Like, what does that say about Chris Rock? But when we go back and look at the history of the imagery that he's done with the magazine and this, and the documentary he did about like black hair, how he's had a history of misogynoir when it comes to like black women, how he speaks about black women, even in a comedy stick that he did where he was talking about Barack Obama is not going to be able to be a successful president. He doesn't want like a black president because unfortunately they're gonna, like, Obama has a black wife, and he was making jokes, you know, misogynist jokes, misogynoir comments about, like, you know, what Michelle Obama would be doing as the black wife and all the other stuff. And it's just disgusting. It's really, really disgusting. And no wonder, like, white men feel comfortable saying the N-word, let alone with the N-word, but with N-word with a hard R at the end of it, hard ER at the end of it. Because Chris Rock allows white people to feel comfortable laughing at black foolishness. Like, he allows them, he gives them access to that. Like, he can make jokes like, yeah, I said it. Yeah, crackers out here killing it. Like, the way he speaks. And you know what's so funny? Chris Rock knows that that voice that he does works. It's very tap dance. I don't know how to explain it, but the way the inflection, the way his tone goes up and down, it's very specific. It's very specific, and it's like a performance, but he's been performing it for so long that you would think that's his voice full time, but that's not how he talks. Like, that's like, I wish someone would break down how is there a voice for, like, raccoon behavior? Like, is there a raccoon voice? And I don't know how to explain. Like, I feel like that people know what I'm talking about, but I don't know how to explain it. But it's like this very specific voice that Chris Rock does whenever he's doing his comedy and stuff, and it just gives very, like, it gives very coonish vibes. It just gives very raccoon-like vibes. So why am I mentioning all of this? Because when we get into talking about his history of misogynoir, it starts to make sense, and it paints a clear picture of why he has been, like, so turned on by making fun of Jada Pinkett. Apparently, this has been going on for a long time. Apparently, like, going back and looking at some of the videos and stuff, Chris Rock has been making fun of Jada for the longest. Like, he's been making fun of her for, like, even in an interview, like I was reading on People magazine, and they said that, you know, a source close to Jada Pinkett said Jada has had no part in all of this other than being heckled. The source says Chris is obsessed with her and it has been going on for almost 30 years. 30 years of harassment now makes sense of why Will Smith felt compelled to get up there and slap him. And honestly, he deserved it, to be honest. I'm just so sorry. Like this is an in-house matter. Like, this is black folks taking care of their stuff. And that just is what it is. And you know what? Chris Rock, I just can't imagine somebody coming and walking up and slapping me, and I don't, like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? He just like, why? Like, even in that being slapped, Chris Rock was able to activate that raccoon in him and perform for white. Like, I'm gonna let you slap me and do that and play on it because I know white audiences are going to like it. Like, he knew from the very, very beginning that the white folks was gonna be on his side with this. Like, oh, this is violence. Let me tell you something. White people, y'all are the last. I'm so sorry. Like, the white reactions to the slap have been just like, girl, y'all are wearing me thin. As much black, like, death I've seen on CNN, even local news stations repeatedly showing police brutality, police harm to black folks, like, girl, y'all can't be serious. Like, we are literally reading stories about black folks going in restaurants, sitting down in diners, and looking at the newspaper or a picture, and there's a black man being lynched on the, like, a printout on the table. Like, there's literally a story of this, like, this black folks who went into this restaurant, and they was like, girl, what is this on? Like, what's going on? Like, it was a picture of a black man. It was a painting of some sort of a black man being lynched. Like, this is not, we see so much, and white folks are so, they just unaware. Like, oh my gosh, this is just so harmful, when we can see repeated, like war and violence, especially when we've seen the imagery and videos of all of the, like, the war and stuff that goes on, like, constantly being shown to us, like, 24/7. And for now to see this, like, oh, like this slap happened, oh my gosh, this was disrespect. It wasn't that it was harmful, it's just, we need to have decorum because this is a white only space. Like, this is a white space. How dare you bring that black stuff in here? And the black stuff is, violence. Coming from some of the most violent people on the face of this earth. Like, it's very interesting and like fascinating that they are all turned off by this. Like, it's just, you can't make this up. And Chris Rock knows this, and he's been slowly building support around this. Now he has a Netflix special, comedy special, where, he filmed this in Baltimore, which is Jada's hometown. And it's like, you are milking the hell out of this, and it's supposed to be marketed as a laugh at my pain situation, like, let me talk about it, da da da. But throughout the comedy special, from the clips and stuff I'm seeing, he is calling Jada the B word repeatedly, like calling her the B word. Now, going back, Jada and Chris Rock have had, like, he's, had her on his show, and, he was making fun of her for her activism stuff that she was doing, and she came on there and she was talking to him about what was important about the work that she was doing. And Chris Rock was just, his response basically was, demeaning her and, saying, hey, like, you rewarded her with a champagne bottle because she did not mention Will Smith's name. Like, at this point, it's giving harassment. It's not even comedy anymore, but if we actually, like, pay attention, black women are not new to their harassment being comedy. Like, we literally have seen plenty of skits and stuff on YouTube, TikTok, Vine, black women having their wigs blown off or snatched off for comic relief, because black women, unfortunately, are the butt of jokes. And it is funny for a lot of folks to watch black women experience harm. It's entertainment. So much that black women don't even have access to this. Like, black women can't themselves go and do it. Like, it's too much. Like, oh, like, you're not allowed. But a black man can put on a wig and put on some bad makeup and all the other stuff and just do, like, all types of comedy around, like, this specific comedy that is, like, heavy minstrel to me. And, like, dipped in misogynoir. Like, it's just like, hey, I'm gonna play this caricature stuff up and make fun of black women, even though I'm not a black woman, and make money off of it. We've seen a lot of comedians over the years build, like, an empire over this. Like, Tyler Perry has been able to do that with his Medea character. Like, even some of our favorite comedians, dipped in that, who I can't think, Eddie Murphy, and his character Respucia, and his other characters portraying black women. It's never a, desired black woman. It's never like a, it's always a specific black woman, like a fat or an older black woman, or someone who is made to look ugly for jokes. Same thing with Medea. Like, no one has ever said that Medea, Mabel Simmons, was beautiful in any of the skits or anything. It's always been made fun of that she is fat and she's ugly. Even Eddie Murphy playing Respucia and other characters were ugly. Even Martin Lawrence playing his character, Shaniqua, what was the name? I can't think of the name. Like, was made, like, just ugly. Just, like, made to be ugly. Even Jamie Foxx, when he did his character, like how he would do the lips and stuff, it's like, and it's always specifically a dark-skinned black woman. It's always specifically a dark-skinned black woman, because this is the most ghetto. Like, we can juice it up, just bigger, just make it bigger, and more. Like, this is just it. So Chris Rock is able to tap into these folks who do like watching this style of comedy, and he's harassing this black woman. Like, the whole show, I'm sure, was not about Jada, but his whole career, he has done stuff to demean black women. Even the hair documentary he did, was it an actual documentary to try to teach black folks about black hair? When you come on a platform to talk about black hair and you want to stick your hands in someone's wig. Like, what is that? What does that do? Because you're playing up like a show. Like, this is comedy to you. This is entertainment. It's not about educating the mass. This is not about, hey, we need to have a conversation. As someone who did a whole documentary about black women's hair is now making comments about a black woman's hair or lack thereof. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean when you are in front of a white audience and, you know, we know it's a white audience because we're talking about the Oscars. Like, the Oscars, you know, have been dragged for the last couple of years for, you know, not having a lot of, you know, people of color, I hate using the term people of color, but black folks like nominated for anything. And that was the whole thing. Jada said that, what is going on? Like, why are black folks not being nominated? And like, you know, of course she was talking about her husband, but she said like, what's going on? Like, this is whatever. So she said she wasn't going to the Oscars and she was going to boycott. And Chris Rock's response was, we got way more important stuff to be worried about. Like, we got way more stuff going on instead of this. And he's saying it in front of white folks and white people are clapping. Because again, white people know that Chris Rock is one of those folks that will drag white folks a little bit, but still make them feel comfortable, but drag the hell out of black folks and get them together. It's the same stuff as what Bill Cosby was doing when he was telling black folks, you need to tell your kids to pull up their pants. They need to know how to spell. They need to be able to read and write. And he would say stuff like, yeah, black folks will be in attendance, you know, because anti-blackness is global, it's internalized. A lot of us internalize it, and we don't, unfortunately, realize it. Like, hey, like, you know, this is wrong, but they believe the same thing. So he will say this stuff in front of white folks, and that's why the Oscars felt comfortable. Like, hey, this is our representation. Like, look at this. We can get this black person in here to like shake it up. And what happens when he is asked to host the Oscars, and in this he is making fun of Jada. Like, yes, like we can joke and we can clown, but if you have a history of harassing this person, and we see that with the stuff that you've been doing afterwards, what does that say? What does that say? What does that say? Like, come on now. Come on now, like, let's be completely honest. So to me, it is giving harassment, but it is still comedy, because to harass and demean a black woman on a public space and to be rewarded for it, there is capital in that. And we've seen that over the years. We've seen that black women are the butt of jokes and made fun of, and they're able to make money off of that. But black women gain absolutely nothing from this. They don't get anything. Like, this is their representation, a black man dressing up as them or demeaning them. This is their representation. This is their representation. And it's quite sad, and I hope we like use moments like this to learn from this. This is why I'm having a conversation about it in this video, because I'm not interested in watching Chris Rock stand up or anything. I don't really find him funny. I think he has his moments every once in a while, but I am not going to die on a hill and say that Chris Rock is funny. I just don't think he's that funny. I think a lot of folks who I thought were funny weren't actually funny. They were not telling jokes. They were just demeaning people. And I was dealing with my own issues where I felt that that was necessary for folks to demean folks. And I'm just no longer interested in learning that this is not necessarily like comedy. It's harassment. But let me know how y'all felt about it. I've not watched the comedy special. I've read some reviews about it. They were just saying, where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? And there are not any jokes. Because Chris Rock don't really have that many jokes if he's not demeaning black folks or black women.